So hello and welcome to our first edition of Mindful Monday in November. So if it's your first time here, welcome. We always love to hear where you're coming from. You're welcome to type your location in the comments. If you have any questions, you can type that in the comments as well. Whether you're listening live, watching live, or the recording, we'll reach out to you if you have any questions there too. And if there's any topics you'd like to see covered in an upcoming Mindful Monday, you can either direct message me or you can type it in the comments as well. We're always interested in topics. If you're also new and you type mindful in the comments, then you'll be enrolled in our Mindful Monday cheat sheets, which is actually the PDF of what we cover here. And I often include some extra freebies like recordings, etc., etc. So some good freebies there and lots of fun for you. It is a weekly newsletter. I will let you know that it comes out the following Sunday. So what we cover today, you'll receive in an email on next Sunday at 6:45 p.m. All right, perfect. So today we're here to talk about quick and easy ways to be more creative and inspired on a daily basis. So a lot of times when we want to engage in a creative endeavor as a ex-perfectionist myself, I know I always did not want to get involved in whether it be media such as painting or drawing or whether it was writing, whatever, if I was not feeling creatively inspired, or shall we say in the flow. And so, it is a wonderful feeling of that inspired and being in the flow, but as many of you may know, if you wait for that feeling, and especially if you have deadlines, you can get really behind. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. Also, sometimes let's also say that having a practice of creativity is going to be one of the things we're going to talk about today. So if we have a practice, meaning we do something creative, even if it's for a really short period of time every day, I'll call that a creative practice, then we're getting ourselves set up for that. We're training our brains to be more creative. And it doesn't mean you have to torture yourself, it's a very short period of time. So you're not going to make yourself sit in front of a computer if you're writing a book, or in front of a drawing board if you're sketching or something, for an hour, but you'll do 5 to 10 minutes, preferably in the morning when you're feeling fresh kind of thing, and no distractions, so you're not like answering emails if you're not feeling creatively inspired. So that's training the brain, and that's doing that. And something that happens that's really interesting is, even though we're not feeling inspired because we've created this practice, we tend to kind of get into a flow. If you're just sitting there with no distractions, you might be doodling or something, and then an idea will spark in your mind. So after, you'll be setting that timer, 5 to 10 minutes, you might be in a flow. You might be, writing the 4th or 5th page of your, whatever you're writing, or, painting or whatever. And so if you find yourself, you found that flow, then by all means, go ahead and stay in it. You will want to also, though, set another timer, because you don't want to torture your subconscious mind. And we talk about this in the flow state, Mindful Monday as well. So about every 25 minutes, you want to take a 5 to 10 minute break. It doesn't mean, you stop for the day. We want to stop while we're still in the flow, and this is very still challenging. I'm not going to say hard, because we have to watch what we say, but challenging for me, because when I'm in that flow state, it feels so good and I want to milk all of it out of there. But that's a scarcity mindset. When we have a scarcity mindset, we're telling our minds that that's what's going to happen. And we tend to exhaust ourselves. We tend to work until we're tired, exhausted, depleted from that creative space. And what that tells our subconscious mind is that the next time we want something from it, something creative and inspired, we're going to be that slave taskmaster and work it till, it's depleted and exhausted again. And nobody wants to be worked to the bone. I mean, we do it to ourselves, but nobody wants to feel that way. So you want to have these little tiny breaks. You want to leave while you're still feeling in the flow, and then come back to it, because that's going to tell your subconscious mind that it feels good to do this work, and it's going to also allow you to have a lot more productivity in your creative process, whatever that might be. And then besides this creative practice, I'll say, do something creative every day. So it might be changing up your routine. You can do something as silly as, if you find yourself stuck in routine, wear your watch on the opposite hand. It throws things off, it kind of shakes things up, and it makes you think outside the box. If you have things that you enjoy doing that are quote unquote creative, I mean, everything is creative to its own extent, But if you enjoy, a little bit of crafting or vision boarding, by all means, just set aside a little bit of time to do something that is creative like that. Training our brains is a very important practice. Something else that can be really inspiring is we are so overwhelmed by so many tasks to do, so much social media. Hi, Richard, good to see you here. That we want to kind of, if possible, take 24 hours, 48 hours of like a kind of detox from social media, from electronics, from everything. And that can kind of just allow the brain to focus on other things besides all of the blue lights, the electronics, and really and you can do your own different kinds of meditation. You can do mindfulness or whatever as well. Another thing that is very interesting for being more creative is to interact with a ton of different types of people. It doesn't mean you get to be best friends with them, but just be curious. Talk to different people, see what they're up to, kind of thing. Exercising is also a great practice because what's going to happen in almost all forms of exercise is we're going to have bilateral stimulation. So we're using both sides of the brain, both hemispheres of the brain. We're going to have that analytical and creative intertwining and moving. So music is considered global. You can certainly exercise to music or just listen to music, but the actual movement gets kind of stress and anxiety and the kind of toxic chemicals out of the brain so that you can have that more creative flow. And anytime you can get outside in nature, that's a great practice too. It's very grounding and inspiring in and of itself. You want to cultivate a thirst for knowledge as well when it comes to creativity. So if you're feeling kind of creatively drained, you don't know where you're going, be around other inspiring or creative people. You can watch TED Talks, listen to podcasts, and it doesn't have to be a big time commitment. And particularly, I'm more of a TED Talker. I like the visual component. But I know a lot of folks that just don't have the time for that, and so they'll listen to podcasts while they're driving between meetings or something like that, and they find a lot of good stuff from there. And then make time for play. It doesn't have to be, like I said, a daily thing or a long time commitment, but I'll schedule something at least once a week that I really enjoy doing, whether it's going to a movie, or for me it might be an in-person yoga retreat kind of thing, or yoga class, stuff like that. It can be anything though, really. Getting outside is great. I understand I live in Florida, and we're coming upon cooler times and stuff. So, but a little bit of outside might be possible. And then journaling, I will confess, I'm not a big journaler. I do mini journaling. I like to have a gratitude list and a couple things to focus on. Journaling more than 5 minutes is not good for me, but a lot of folks really gain benefits from journaling. Expressing your feelings, your goals, kind of even daydreaming. You can doodle in your journal, can be good. In general, we want to be curious. When we start being tense about having a creative process or something like that, we're kind of getting that kind of tunnel vision. And when we get our tunnel vision, we're so over-focused that we are tight internally, mentally, physically, emotionally, and it doesn't open us up to being more creative. Actually, we're doing the opposite of what we need when we're getting that stress, that tense, that closed tunnel vision. You can do something to open the focus. I'll oftentimes go for just a 5-minute stroll outside and do a simple little Betty Erickson open focus. I'm aware I see the grass is green. I'm aware I see there's a bird on the tree. If I was here, I'm aware I see a leopard blanket behind me, and then I'm aware I hear, and you would list 3 things. I'm aware I physically feel, so not that tension, but more like my right foot touching the ground or grass on my left ankle kind of thing. So that can open your focus as well. I really like doing that in nature. It's a little dull in the office or house here. Vision boarding is wonderful. We do an annual at the very least, sometimes it's biannual, but we definitely do an annual group hypnosis and vision boarding here, and folks love it. So that can be a lot of fun. And just letting your imagination run wild. When we're growing up in school and stuff like that, they're like, stop daydreaming, focus on reality, come back down to reality. But kids have the most creativity and most imagination. So albeit, do the things you have to do in life, but give yourself a little time if you are going for a little stroll outside, or, anytime. I love right before I go to bed to think of all the things that I would love to achieve, and not like tasks, just what I want to feel like, or something like that. That time before you go to sleep, your subconscious mind works on it all night long. So these are great creative little practices. Of course, you can do some NLP modeling. We talk about that in a lot of other Mindful Mondays. So if you have something that you want to do, like writing a book, and you know someone who has written a book very great, you can start thinking like them, acting like them. And then if you are enjoying a creative period of time and you feel in the flow, I like to use also NLP anchoring. So if I'm feeling that flow state and I have to catch myself in the peak of it, I'll make a hand mudra. In yoga we call it mudra, but a hand position, you can touch fingers together. Middle fingers to thumbs means infinite possibilities. So that's one of my favorite ones. It's called Akasha mudra if you're a yogi. And then I'll name the way I'm feeling. So it could be anything, a name, a word, a phrase, a song, because I'm creative like that, you know. But whatever it is, a thing that's going to make sense to you, you'll take a deep breath in, fingers touching, and on your exhale, you can think or say your word or phrase. I tend to do that 3 times, and then I'll just release. But then from then on, you've anchored this feeling into your body, just like Pavlov rang the bell and the dog salivated. You can touch those fingers, breathe in, say your word or phrase, and the feelings will come back to you, because that's the way our bodies and minds are wired. We do this naturally when it comes to negative, associations and responses. I was in a car accident one time, and so I was rear-ended, and it doesn't really affect me because it was a long time ago, but once in a while I'll kind of like be in that same spot and be like, ooh, I remember that, and I'll kind of like look in my rearview mirror. So that's a negative association. It happened automatically, but we can create positive ones. We just don't do it automatically. So those are some of my favorite tips for creativity. If you guys have any questions, any other topics, we do our best to keep these short. The Mindful Monday cheat sheets tend to have more of the bonuses, like the recordings and stuff in them. So if you're not involved in that, it's a weekly PDF. It comes in an email, which would be next Sunday. You would get this one at 6:45 p.m. If you want to be involved in that, you'll simply type mindful in the comments, and then you'll follow the links to get that. All right, thank you guys so much. Great to see you here, Richard, and have a great Mindful Monday. Bye, guys.